earnestly would recommend to anyone listening that just spend less time in meeting rooms, less time on PowerPoint presentations, less time on a spreadsheet, and more time on the factory floor, more time with customers. And obviously a lot of people out there are already doing that, but I would just urge people to say like, hey, step back a second and say, is your product as awesome as it could be? Probably not. What could you do to make it great? And you know, it feel like thinking about innovation, like maybe it has to be like breakthrough innovation. I don't think it necessarily has to be breakthrough innovation. It's just like, you know, just, I think it is learnable. I mean, step number one would be try. and have you tried? And have you tried hard? And if you haven't tried hard, try hard. I think it is learnable. It's not some mysterious thing. It's just basically just be like an absolute perfectionist about the product that you make, the service that's provided. Seek negative feedback from all quarters. You know, from customers, from people who aren't customers, like, hey, okay, what can we make this? How can we make this better? And you know, I think it's absolutely learnable. And just if you find yourself spending a lot of time in getting presentations and reviewing spreadsheets, you're barking up the wrong tree. That's the effect, not the cause. So just get out there on the factory floor, get out there in the stores, talk to customers, think about what would you love to have. Oh, and you know, sometimes I think, you know, and I've had this conversation at Tesla a few times, where it's like we're trying to think, okay, it's at times like we don't love this product, but we think others will love it. You know, that's not really how it works. If you don't love it, don't expect others will either. Well, if I had to list all the mistakes, this would be a very long call. So too many to even think of. I'm trying to think like, how could I classify them in some way? Well, I mean, some of the things I mentioned just before, it's like where, you know, I was recommending that people spend less time in a conference room, less time getting presentations and spreadsheets, and that, like, generally that's like when I have spent too much time in a conference room, that's generally when things have gone awry. And when I go and spend time on the factory floor, or, you know, really using the cars, thinking about the rockets, it's like, that's where things have gone better. Well, there's a lot of talented people at SpaceX and Tesla. And I think the morale is good. I for sure respect them greatly, and it's an honor to work with them. And I find that if I am engrossed in the details of the issues, this does not result in them feeling better, or worse, but feeling better. Like they're in my experience, more energized. You know, it's like, you know, if you think about like war, it's like, do you want the general in some, like, you know, ivory tower or on the front lines? Like, the troops gonna fight a lot harder if they see the general on the front lines than if they think general's, you know, in some cushy situation. So it's like, nobody bleeds for the prince in the palace. Get out there on the goddamn front line and you know, show them that you care and that you're not just in some plush office somewhere. You know, we're kind of debating, like, should we raise money or should we not? It wasn't like a 100% sure thing. In the end, we thought, well, we can retire a lot of the debt and increase the security of the company, probably a good thing. And for less than 1% of dilutions probably makes sense. But we're, you know, neither here nor there on that. I think it's could have gone either way. Debt retirement, and, like, I guess to have a bit more of a war chest, or, you know, I guess at the end of the day, you know, what is money? Money is an entry in a database. Yeah, I think machines will. Well, my views on AI. I've spoken a lot about this. AI will be able to do everything better than human over time. Everything. Entire transportation infrastructure. Wow. The main thing I see missing here is that we need to go 3D in cities in order to alleviate traffic congestion. And I think probably the best way to do that is with tunnels. In fact, for many years I was asked, what do I see as the biggest opportunity for new companies? And I kept saying, can someone please build tunnels? For half a decade I said this, and nobody built tunnels. So I was like, fine, we'll start a company and start building some tunnels. And we've got the first tunnel that's going to be opening up, first commercial tunnel opening up in Vegas, going from the convention center to the Strip. And I think we will have an opportunity to try it out and be able to see that, hey, if we just go 3D in cities, we don't have to be stuck in gridlock. This is great. Yeah. So I'd recommend tunnels. And then for long distance travel, you can do tunnels or tubes. But if you evacuate the tunnel and essentially remove the air or most of the air, you can get rid of the air friction, and you can go supersonic and do so with no dependence on weather and with no need to get to high altitude or create any sonic boom issues. So that's what I meant by sort of a hyperloop. It's just basically a pressurized electric car in a vacuum tube. So I think this would be a revolution in transport that would be amazing, and hopefully others do it, not just the Boring Company. Well, a lot of this stuff is centered in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I think there's the Silicon Valley or the San Francisco Bay Area has too much influence on the world, in my opinion. And I say that as someone who has spent most of his life in California, mostly in the Bay Area. I think there's the Bay Area has outsized influence in the world. I think we'll see some reduction in the influence of Silicon Valley, but the social media is still very much centered in Silicon Valley. So I think we need to be concerned about mind viruses, just memes that travel very quickly through social media that may or may not be correct. And we certainly want to encourage a healthy dialogue. So, there's some out there who just want to shut down one side of a debate or another. I think we should resist that.
I certainly could be wrong about this point. The early roadsters we made had vehicle-to-grid capability, but nobody used it. So it cost some money. Nobody was using it, so we turned it off. We can easily turn it on right now, and actually easy, especially in Europe because of the way the connectors work. A little more, we need like maybe $100 accessory to be able to do this in the US. But I really think people want to have a home-based battery. Like I think the future that I see most likely is solar on the roof. So either where the roof itself, this roof tiles itself are solar generating, or it's solar panels retrofit on an existing roof, combined with a local battery. We have a product called the Powerwall. It's very popular. And then you need to combine that with grid level solar and wind. And then have a long distance high voltage DC connections. High voltage DC is extremely efficient at transferring electric power. No need for superconductors, in my view. The energy penalty for long distance electricity transmission is I squared R. So it's the current squared times resistance. So if you just increase the voltage, you can have the current be low, and then your I squared R heating is low. So you have high voltage, low current. You can transfer a tremendous amount of electricity with almost very tiny losses. So now you still need to pair that. I think there's other sources like hydro, geothermal. I'm actually not against nuclear. I know that some people don't like nuclear, but I think actually nuclear in a situation where there's not natural disasters is actually fine. I don't think you want to have nuclear in a place that has lots of earthquakes or tsunamis or something like that, or big hurricanes with a name. But in places where natural disasters are not a concern, I think nuclear is very safe.